So welcome to the Kinky Show with Jack and Maya. Today we're going to spend some time defining terms, because in the BDSM world we tend to throw around all these different terms. And
well, like BDSM.
What is BDSM? What is the Kinky Show? What's kink? You know, it means different things to different people. Everyone's got their own little definitions, and some people don't know. So we're going to spend some time going over a few of these and, you know, taking them apart and saying what they mean to us, saying what they might mean to other people, and things like that. Nothing's cut in stone. None of these definitions are cut in stone, and that's part of the point. But we're going to try to delve into the subject and take some things apart.
Right, and let's just start out with the word kinky, because kinky, the name of our show, the Kinky Show, kink can mean a lot of things to different people, and we had a distinct reason for calling our show the Kinky Show. And how should we define kink or kinky?
When I think of kink, it's a very, very broad. But kink is just any kind of sort of extra fun thing you add to your sex life to spice it up, or something you were drawn to that you feel like you need in your sex life. So it's vague and it's playful, and it's intended to be a playful term, I think.
Right, I think so, and I believe that when we were first working on planning the show, we actually were going to call it the BDSM today, and we thought that calling it BDSM might be too obscure for people, whereas kinky, almost everybody kind of has a feel for the word. If they don't have a specific, they know it means something that kind of has a positive, fun sexual connotation.
Right, and BDSM also to many people is a very dark word. Mm-hmm. You know, involves pain, things that are scary to people, whereas kink can be anything. If I once had a boyfriend who liked dripping honey down my body, you know, that's kinky. It's not dark, it's not scary, it's kinky. It's something a little bit different. You know,
off the beaten track.
Off the beaten track.
So, kinky, we've kind of defined it, and which partly defines our mission with this show, which is to cover topics that fall under that general category. And I'd say that our major focus is what would fall under the category of BDSM. And like I said, the reason that we went with kinky rather than BDSM is we felt that too many people wouldn't quite get it, and like you said, it has some dark connotations. And I'm reminded of, first of all, let's define BDSM. What do those letters stand for?
It's an acronym, so it can stand for, I believe, a couple of different things, from what I've heard. The one definition that I kind of stand by is bondage, discipline, sadism, masochism. So within that, you've got a whole bunch of terms that now we can go into. I've heard people say bondage, dominance, sadism, masochism, but the point is that BDSM, I believe, represents a mix between dominance and submission in terms of power play between two people, and then also possibly, not necessarily, but possibly an aspect of sadomasochism, which is the giving and receiving of pain for pleasure, for erotic pleasure or pleasure in general. So,
well, you used a term that I think that requires definition too. People in the scene, so to speak, the people that are playing with BDSM, know what power play means, but I think it's something that outside people may not know. We may have viewers who aren't sure what we're talking about when we talk about power play. And how do you define that, power play?
Power play. Well, I'd like to give my take on it, and then maybe you give your take on it, because I really want to emphasize the fact here that these things really are different for every individual. But power play is, I think of two people, two partners, one person dominating the other consensually. So there's been a ritualized setting up of space for one person to dominate the other person. Could be role play, or it could be just the dynamic between certain people. Power play is something that exists in all human interactions. I mean, it's not just a part of kink. there are many times when there's some kind of power play. If you have a classroom, the teacher has more power than the students. In government, the people in power, I mean, the people in charge, so to speak, that's the whole point, is they have power. So there's always power play.
So give a relevant example. You have two people and they're engaging in some kinky BDSM sex. Mm-hmm. So what would be an example of power play? And let me, by the way, use the term power exchange as well, because these are used somewhat interchangeably.
Something as simple as a man coming in to the living room seeing his girlfriend, and he throws her down and he holds her hands down. And you know, she feels helpless, she's held down with, you know, that's power play. He's exerting, you know, physical dominance over her.
Right. And so when we use the term power play, so we are using a term that defines a fairly conventional interaction between people that we all recognize. And when we talk about power exchange, what we're really saying here is that there is an exchange of power. Even in a scene like that where the man seems to dominate and the man seems to be displaying his power as a man, in a consensual relationship, and this is something that we emphasize always is present in these interactions, the power exchange is that both parties are very much have power. Even though I might be playing the role of a dominant, and I might be the guy that's, you know, tying up the woman and whipping her or spanking her, that's only because she's got the power to say no or stop at any point. So it's a complete exchange of power.
There's always got to be some initial establishment of what people want, what role they're going to play, what their boundaries are. And having a word, like we call it in the BDSM world, we call it a safe word, so that if things get out of control, or, hey, if you're just not in the mood, you know, someone tries to do something spontaneous to you, and you're just not in the mood to be dominated or whatever, then you can use the safe word, such as red or kumquat or something, you know, just, you know, anything. So there's always an underlying establishment of we're going to do this. And we're both agreeing to it, and we're both going to have fun with it. And
well, let's get back to BDSM and the terminology. So bondage, dominance, bondage, discipline. Most people have an idea of S&M, and up until, I'm not sure when the term BDSM came into more common usage, but for a long time, S&M was kind of a term which referred to the whips and chains crowd and the leather crowd. Sadomasochism from the Marquis de Sade, who wrote several novels back in the, I guess it was the 17th, 18th century. Marquis de Sade, and the term sadism was coined from his name, and masochism was coined from Sacher-Masoch, who wrote novels in which he was the recipient of pain and being dominated by a female. And so we get those two terms, which were adopted in the psychological community. Mm-hmm. So sadomasochism is really the heavy end of that BDSM acronym, and defines a lot of the interaction.